Good morning, gang. I want to introduce you to the Moose Den Peak Disc Golf Course here at our property. Hole 1 starts right behind the house. Tees off kind of above the ponds and is a dog leg to the right. Here we are right in front of the drop zone. And you can see here's the front of the house, and up behind me is the fairway. So the pro tee is back up against the trees there. Here's the first pond you gotta clear, road, and the far side pond. So drop zone tees off right here on the road, clears the pond. You gotta make it between these two dead snags, and the basket is tucked over to the right, which you can see right through here. It's an old ching basket. Thought I'd show you a shot from the drop zone to / short tee. So the way this course is organized, there's a pro 20 and then an am 18. Here's the basket tucked on this knoll. Drop off kind of all sides and some rough putting angles. And looking back towards the tee, you can see the narrowness of the green and the road here out of bounds, pond just beyond. So again, that gap is coming right there through the two dead snags. My drive ended up right over there. So on the green, putting for birdie. Oh yeah, I'm past the green here. Lots of trouble. Parsing. Hole 2 is a par 3, short little downhill shot. Tees off above the stairway here. And you have kind of two gaps. You've got the float over the ocean spray direct shot, which is a little more open. And then you have a little dinky forehand down to the left here that'll cut right. Yep, I'll putt. So elevated green here to the tonal. And again, the whole green slopes down across that cliff. So you want to be short of anything in this hole. Hole 3 is a par 3. Dog leg to the left. It's got a really tight gap coming out of the tee pad, which we'll get down to in a minute. And this big monolith is the main kind of anchor point for your drive. Basket's tucked right over here beyond this dead tree right near the road. So road out of bounds, Homestead Spa's out of bounds, which doesn't really come into place unless you're bombing a second shot from the woods back here scrambling. Tough angle to get to. It's really the hyzer flip through the gap that kind of glides past the stone. We got to be a pushing hyzer. Otherwise you end up 50, 60 left. All right. Hole 4 is a par 4 for the pro layout. And the first shot should be ideally on the green of the short par 3 basket. So there is a tone out in the middle of the field at the end of this rock wall. So your goal is to kind of hit this main gap, filter to the left, kind of pushing forward. That'll give you a look at the short green. And from there, if you land in that zone, it's a towering anhyzer up into the woods up on the hill, or maybe a spike forehand to get to the green, which is a tonal tucked up on the woods. And I forgot to mention there's an artificial pond to the left. So I hit some shrubbery to keep me out of it. But if that gets clean through the trees, out of bounds in the pond, take a drop zone up on the path. And that was really close to what you're looking for. Obviously I yanked it a little bit to the right. If that hits the gap, it's gonna filter right down to where you wanna be. Instead, I'm in some serious scramble mode. You can see the artificial pond down here behind me. I ended up so deep in the shoal But I decided to take it from the drop zone and show you this line. So this is the bend of the rock wall. There's the short pin. And that's where a good drive should land for the pro par 4. As it is, I'm gonna take the drop zone shot and try to arc one way over the trees up onto the hillside. Yeah, that's about right. Well, I ended up blasting about 70 feet past down on the slope here. It's uphill, so I'm gonna give it a good run, see what happens. The course, Moose Den Peak, gets its namesake from hole 5. Well, hole 5 and hole 8, they kind of share this knoll. When we first moved here, it was winter time, and coming up onto this view, this is kind of our biggest viewpoint. There were some beds with, for example, moose poop and beds. A mama and her baby were posted up here all winter. I mean, they migrated a little bit, but they came back a lot. And because it's such a beautiful view up here, it felt just right to call it Moose Den Peak, because those moose know where to be. So here we are on the T hole 5. It's a gorgeous view. Okay, hole 5, it's par 3. It's one of the signature shots because we get to throw over the mountain. There's a tight line directly to the basket right down here. For the ding. Get there. Oh. Okay, we are on the green of 5. I had the line just a little short. Okay, birdie. Back on track. Hole 6 is a very difficult par 3. Mostly just the elevation and the tight line. Also, the green's kind of tricky, but basically you're just trying to get as straight as you can up this gap. Ideally finishing a bit right. But it kind of suckers you into thinking it's an Anheuser. The better play is just to throw it straight and get a little counter skip up the hill. Wow, okay, that was my best drive ever. Almost an ace run. Here we are on the green. Very cool, textured green. Lots of tricky putts. And I'm about 30 feet long, which has never been done for me. Makes me think mid-range might be the shot. Just nuzzle it in about 20 short. Anyway, let's see if I can make my putt. So here I am on the green of hole 6. If you're playing the AM layout, you head just to the right here to hole 7. Now the Pro 20 has 2 more long holes that kind of links their way back up and down the property from here. 6A and 6B. So head to the left for the Pro 20, and we're gonna play hole 6A, which is a par 4, back up to the house. Same basket we played for hole 3. All right, 6A is a bomb of a par 4. You can kind of see up past the rocks there, the house. So that's a good marker for where the green is. If you remember hole 3, that's the basket we're going to, the marksman. So, you know, we're about 80 feet right of the house. Road out of bounds, homestead spa out of bounds, the garden out of bounds. Also, the artificial pond of hole 9, which came into play on hole 4, is just over there. So if you're a big Anheuser's out early, you can find out of bounds. So the play is either a flex line down beyond this rock, coming back to the middle, or a big Anheuser or forehand around, trying to get to that open gap. And from there, with a good drive, you know, you're looking at 325 feet uphill to the green. Pretty tough par 4. When you throw the big Anheuser shot off the tee, Gotta make sure you throw something understable enough not to mess with these woods. So I was deep in them, had to just pitch out. So now I'm taking my third from where a good drive should end up. About right. You've heard me refer to the Homestead Spa a couple of times as an out of bounds area. That's this little nook tucked in by the rock here where we have our wood fire hot tub and our little bathtub. So anywhere in that area, out of bounds. This approach shot was excellent. It can be tough to gauge the distance sometimes from down at the bottom of the hill. And then of course the road's out of bounds, you don't want to go long. But that's just right. So with a good drive, that's how you birdie it. And if you got to pitch out of the woods, then you're saving your par. Okay, hole 6B. This is a fun one. It's not a very long shot. Well, it plays not so long because it is downhill slightly. But this gap is minuscule and really demands commitment. We're going back to the same tone pole that was hole 6, the one amongst all the rocks. So yeah, here's our links return. 6B, right down the gap. Yeah, that last little kick slowed me down from being on the green. But, you know, making the gap. Objective A. Well, risk reward. Really thought that hit it. Hole 7's a par 3. Goes right out towards that dead snag and then steeply arcs to the right up the hill. Same basket we played for the pro hole 4. Tone pole, that is. It's a great kind of stalling forehand. That's really the only shot to get to the green. However, I've got a big blister on my finger. It's not letting me throw forehands. So I've never even thrown this backhand, to be honest. I'm gonna try to rip this putter, get it to glide right. Man, if this dead tree came out, there's almost a sky anhyzer shot that would really line up the gap well. Could be cool. Okay, what you don't want is to duck in early. I left a bunker of really dense trees. It's kind of an island, because that's where a lot of the bad shots end up. There's no chance to get up the green from there. It's just kind of a pitch out. So if you go like shank even further right, you got an alley, and then of course the fairway's clean. So right there where I threw it, that's par best. Well, I spoke too soon. I got a nice cut roll out to the open, and I got my 40-footer that I wanted. Oh, so low up the hill. Come on, baby. Better. Hole 8. This is out and out signature hole. Coined Albatross because when I was first designing this course with my kids, they were playing this par 6, which is pretty legitimate for you know, kids in their single digits. I'd say it does play as a par 4 for most amateurs, although with the elevation, it's very reachable. So the Albatross kind of overlaps because I think as a par 4, it is aceable. On the pro layout, it plays a par 3 because in reality, it's, you know, 380 downhill. But a tight line, blind from the tee pad. Essentially, you got that tall fir, it's kind of spindly, and then a ponderosa pine beyond it that's really dense. It's just the foot of that to the left. MVP basket elevated on a stump. So one day, the disc is going to be gliding down there and then ka-ching. Oh, and Albatross because Luca, my older son, he 3'd it when they were playing in the par 6. So Here we go. That's it. Oh man, I cannot wait to see what that hit. Solid stumpage. Could be the base of the basket. Okay, I got a little carried away with hitting the bottom of the stump. Probably just hit a spindly pine real solid. And it's a putt for birdie. There we go. Gotta love doing that one. Wow, what a beautiful spring day. End of April. Just couldn't ask for better weather. So this hole 9, I've been talking about the elusive artificial pond. We kind of think we saw the M14 basket parked down there amongst the moss. That's the green for hole 9. So it functions like an island for this hole. A smart play is to lay up just beyond Titan on the other side of that flat rock, which is where the OB line starts. From there, it's about a 200-foot putter shot to the island, and you can take your 3. Running the island is a shot you need to practice a couple times to get the angles and the distance. It's about a 320-foot carry. Bends hard left to right. There's a rock wall on the back end of it, so if you're coming in hot and you got plenty of angle, but the miss is always to come out early or to glide too far and just finish left of the basket. So it's more right than you think, and you just got to really commit to the angle. Now that was really darn good. It was kind of like penetrating, and I usually throw a mid-range here. So that's probably a little long, but it could be on the island. We'll find out. I don't see my drive, which is usually a bad sign here. So I'm gonna throw a provisional from the drop zone, which is the top of this rock. Everything's out of bounds except for the island. I can leave it, buddy. Leave it. Thank you. Good boy. The first mountain lily of the season. Wow, what a beaut. So as I suspected, my drive penetrated too long and left. Here's the start of the island. There's the basket. So a good throw, but at last, out of bounds. Hole 10 is a par 4. And essentially plays the fairway of hole 4 backwards. So it's uphill and doesn't really take the turn quite as much as you'd think. It is more of a straight shot. So you want to make it to those rocks or beyond. And then there's a tunnel into the woods. The tee pad's back behind me here. And I have vision for carving into the woods a little more. For now, it plays as a giant spike hyzer or a forehand flex shot just to get to the base of those rocks. Yeah, that would play. So I cleared the rocks, which either could be some deep shoal or there's a path beyond there that I might have reached. If so, I'll have a shot. So there's the fairway we just threw up. Well, I threw up over all that. And ideally, you'd clear these rocks and land in this landing zone here. But if you land the path, you got this straight shot up the trail. So it's kind of, you can see the basket up in there. It's a pretty tight line in one of the holes that still needs some work to really be a fair shot. The second shot, I would say, 90% of the time is either a forehand roller or an overhand, which to me is a sign it's not quite finished. Ooh, if that fights through the wind. There it is. Oh! Yep, still a little tight. Still a little rough. Okay, thanks for joining me on the front half of the course. 12 holes in the Pro 20, 10 holes in the AM layout. And stay tuned for the back. We're gonna step into the ravine. There's 2 really challenging par 4s down in there, as well as a infamous par 2 that is a fun little mental challenge. So yeah, we'll see you on the backside. Thanks.